I'm nearly sure this is episode 25. It's been a week or so since I've had one up, but today I'm joined by Fred Cooke. Fred, thanks a million for joining me on the podcast.
So I'm absolutely delighted to finally get on your podcast. Big fan.
It's been a long time in the pipeline now.
Yeah. You'd swear I was busy. you'd swear I wasn't in lockdown.
No, it was great for thanks to Stephen Kelly as well for getting us in touch as well. Of course, we had that podcast there. It's probably just 2 months ago now with the 3 books left. We've good crack.
Yeah.
Fred, lockdown is over. As you said to me there last week, gigging is starting up again soon, and you're in Castlebar soon. I can only imagine you're very excited for that.
I can't wait, and I really can't wait. I just love the TF. I love that room. Funny, 12 years ago, I went to see an 80s legend, and he's still going, called Nick Kershaw. Don't know if you ever heard of him, and he was playing in Castlebar, and in the same room. And I was kind of chuffed myself, like 10 years later, being last year, to find myself in the same room. It's his 80s legend, so, because I know, like, the TF gets the big names. And so I love like the Hardy Buck lads as well. I remember after the gig I did in Castlebar a few months ago, last September I actually did it, and I went to the Irish bar. I went to the pub there in Castlebar, and I put in my phone the Irish bar to walk to it on Google Maps. And Google Maps said to me, it said, "This pub will be closed by the time you arrive." And I was like, "You haven't a clue, Google Maps, how this country works." It's like this English accent telling me that the pub's going to be closed. I was like, "What planet are you on?" So, but it's lovely. And I think with this tour as well, I want to kind of embrace the land a bit more. I'm always trying to convince Pete and Stephen and Collie to climb Croagh Patrick. And I'm forever seeing them do it, so I'm kind of, I've got my heart set at this time, even if it is getting a bit cold.
Definitely, yeah. And of course, the gigs themselves. So you're not only a comedian and an actor. You're from your Instagram now. I see you're fond of music as well. You can pick up any sort of an instrument. Do you bring that into the gigs too, or is it just
all the time? Yeah. I'm like Bill Bailey. I'm like Bill Bailey without the numbers. But it's, that's it. I go from the piano to the guitar, the stories. Yeah. So it's keeping it going, and I've got loads of songs this year. Songs about lockdown itself, and I can't wait. That's what I do is musical comedy, so it's to a certain extent.
And we're going to get on to the musical comedy side of things in Republic Telly as well in a while. But just before we go on to that, of course, lockdown. For some people have kind of benefited from it. Like I know myself, I wouldn't have this podcast if it wasn't for lockdown, because that's when I started. But I'm sure for yourself, and I spoke to other comedians about it too, you've been able to get new material, have time to think of new things, and as you said, yourself, get new songs and stuff as well.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm always writing jokes. I'm always putting stuff on my phone. And where you benefit, which is from this brilliant podcast, for me, I probably started putting more stuff up on social media, just to channel comedy some other way. And I think, because I know, like, the Hardy Bucks lads were, years ahead of me on this. They were putting up stuff years ago, so I'm only getting my head around it now the last few months. So, but definitely it is. It's. I didn't expect to be locked down for so long. I can, like, last March, when probably the 18th of March, I'm in Kerry at the moment, and we're still here in a nice place called Brandon. So we're halfway up a mountain, and we're lucky enough you've got Wi-Fi in the car, and so it's just adjusting, yourself. Like that's what it was.
Definitely, yeah. So as I said, Republic of Telly, for myself growing up, I suppose, I'm 20 now, so Republic of Telly would be the stuff that, didn't want you watching, but you still got bits and pieces of it anyways. Not to do any bit of badness in it either, but it was something that myself and Tom O'Mahony spoke about only a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Maybe we're missing on the telly now because, social media, it's a lot of comedy on social media. Even you said yourself, the likes of yourself, the 3 bucks left, guys like Brett Casey as well are really taking advantage of social media. But do you think there's a place for the Republic of Telly, that style of show now on?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think they should have got rid of it. I think because it was doing well, And maybe, you know, like if you're doing that well, it was doing amazing. Republic of Telly. It was the thing everyone was watching. I was very lucky with that wave. I think I kind of came in on the waves of Rubber Band's success. Do you know what I mean? Like I was doing jokes around that on Republic of Telly, but that's when everyone started watching it. And then, you know, it kind of changed. You know what I mean? And every TV program struggles if you're that popular. Do you know what I mean? And I think like even Saturday Night Live struggles. It's hard to believe, but the thing with Saturday Night Live is don't change the title, change the format. You know, like keep it fresh that way, but always just keep the title. So, and they did change it up a bit, but look, that's what they wanted to do. And I guess it looks like on the face of it that they replace it with the Tommy Tiernan show. Even though that was, well, I think it was looking like that. So I kind of kept my head low and told no one anything. Saying how terrible it was that Republican Telly's gone. But it is, I do miss it. I miss it for the crack of it. It'd be very hard nowadays. I know, I think I said it to Martin Maloney, and it's not even out of ego or it's not even out of finance, but it'd be very hard to get all those people today. You know, you're looking at the Hardy Bucks there, you're looking at the Rubber Bandits, you know, you're looking like Damo and Ivor. Some of them aren't even doing, it's not that they're not doing anything anymore. They're just like, they're not, there's no social media presence. So it's just like that. It's a lovely moment in time. And thankfully, it's aged very well because 90% of comedy ages, like, you know, especially over the last few years, you know what I mean? Like when, like the Me Too era, and like people have to be accountable to stuff, which is understandable. I think Republic of Telly has aged very well. You know, it was simple, it was nice, and there were good jokes. So
yeah, and even as you said there, it'd be hard to get everyone together. But even as you said, the format, like in essence, well, from watching it, anyway, it was like an academy sort of these comedians, actors, and musicians coming through. The likes of and Kevin McGahern that have gone, better things. Like even on telly, then you're like, geez, this is where these fellas came from. And even if those wave of young Irish comedians come through and that to be their platform again.
But you know, maybe you're making a great point there. I never thought about myself because, like, when you look at those acts, we had Republic of Telly, like that was our thing, and it was a platform, and we were so lucky to get it because if you put in Irish comedy now on YouTube, you know, you get these every pub ever, in Ireland ever, every funeral ever. Do you know that was the what it looks like the peak of the time for Republic of Telly. You know what I mean? They were getting it right. Now, so like look at comedians today, maybe they don't have that platform. They don't, you know, and that's why they're more dependent on social media. Now there is like, you know, like there's slight Bridget name and like RT did an amazing job with comic relief, like just outstanding. So there is, and I guess maybe the irony about it is that when we were doing Republic of Telly, I'd often have family friends saying to me, it's an awful pity you guys don't have Father Ted. You know, because all the generation before us are all Father Ted associated. So, you know, it's you can only answer in hindsight, maybe. And I think so. But I do feel that something's coming in RT again with comedy. Like they're just budget wise, we've always struggled with budget in RT when it comes to comedy, and even myself, like, I wrote very little for the Republic of Telly. Like, I just kind of turned up and and pulled faces and did what I was told. And I was very lucky to be in that situation. Like, I really did. The only thing I ever wrote for Republic of Telly that I was kind of proud of, I did a few the news when they go over to you live. Remember Dermot Whelan and they go over to the other side of the studio. I did a few of them, and but I did Ireland the Musical when I went around each county of Ireland with a song. Yeah. And I wrote that with Damien Clark and Martin Shields. I'm very proud of that. And I'm lucky as well that it's catalogued on YouTube and the RTE player. And obviously, it's the comedy, it hasn't aged through comedy, but it's definitely aged through our faces. You know, and even, look, you look at like the Roscommon scene that we did. We went to Roscommon and the song that we had was Jammin' by Bob Marley. And the joke was, it kind of went, Roscommon, I hope you like Roscommon too. Roscommon. That's. But if you look in the background in the actual video, you can see a video shop. It's so old. Do you know a place to get DVDs and videos? It's so I forget the name of Chartbusters, one of those places. So So it's kind of visually aged a bit. But after that, I was kind of blessed that I was asked to do stuff and I turned up.
And I was going to ask you about that because as you were saying as well, the musical comedy sort of thing, and the Ireland the musical tied in with that perfectly. Did you actually go around to every county in the country?
Yeah, we did. We were around every single county. Yeah, we did the first 17 counties we did ourselves off our own budget. That was the cameraman and the 3 people in the stuff. Now the cameraman was a cameraman in the Republic of Telly, Derek Dillon, the producer. So and then one day we were doing a Republic of Telly sketch. So I brought in what we had already on my laptops and I showed him the 17 counties. I showed it to the producer Shane Mulvey and he went, look, we'll finish this ourselves. And they gave us maybe a week to finish it. And we did, but I'm telling you, because the time span is probably a year and a half from when we did our first one to our last one. Because it was stopping and starting, a lot of stopping and starting, and you can actually see it. Like you can see from Cork up to Derry, I develop wrinkles under a few seconds. You know what I mean? Like there's that age span. I get slightly older from county to county. So it was a real labour of love. I'm very proud of it. And I was kind of hoping to do it again, but the whole lockdown thing happened. So we'll see what happens, like.
Yeah, it's a brilliant video. It's got a lot of views on YouTube as well.
Yeah. It's got I think it's on 1 million or something like that. So it's oh my God, yeah. When you look at the it still goes up. I mean, God, I remember being in because I have a certain amount of notoriety. Now I don't have massive amount of notoriety, a comfortable amount. And but I remember you go to Irish pubs in New York and to be noticed here from these Republic of Telly videos. It's incredible. Do you know what I mean? Like that. It's the first time. You know what I mean? When stuff was going viral. Horse outside and all that. And I guess that's what we were looking for all the time. We were kind of at times trying to create another viral thing, and they got it with every wedding ever, every funeral ever. So it was just striking it lucky. Like it's a great pedestal and engine to have the Republic of Telly because Doherty player. There's so many people watching it anyway.
Yeah, and even watching back now, like my brother is he'll be 15 this year, and he's starting to get into Hardy books, telly, even DM1 Ivor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
He's watching these different programs, and then he'll look at the things you could say in the 80s.
Yeah.
And it's yourself and Kevin McGarren stood at the bar, and he's like, that's Fred Cooke, and that's Sim Carey from Hardy Books.
Yeah.
Like they're seeing all these different fellas who've gone on to different things. Like it's brilliant to look back at it in that way.
Oh, it's class. Great memories, and it was fun work. A lot of hanging around, drinking coffees, and I'm a townie from Kells, grew up in Kells, so all of a sudden, because everyone was in those videos. Like I was hanging out with models for the day. like Georgia Salfa. I did a video with her, the 2 videos with her, and Nadine Coyle. Do you know what I mean? Like not Nadine Coyle, the other Nadine. And so it's great fun. There was a lot of heart and a laugh. And it was, I think with Kevin McGahern, my relationship with him, and I think he feels it more from my side, but it's very much like school. It feels like we're mitching and getting away with it. And it's how much crack it can fill the silence with, in the meantime. So that's what I think anyway. I don't know if he agrees. But, so it was just a great laugh. Absolutely. You'd miss it. But maybe I'm just harping on nostalgia.
Will there be many takes in recording?
No, not for those. Not for the Republic of Telly sketches. Not for the ones in the pub and stuff. Literally 2 takes. Because the jokes are so simple. Simple reveal. Like at one stage, I remember Declan Rooney. I'm like, have the drink, have the one. And then the next scene, he's on the floor. I mean, we didn't need Spielberg to do that. We're very simple jokes.
Put scenes and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. We're great with relevancy as well. That's the thing. That's the power of a comedy. I think obviously funny and original, but relevancy as well. Like that's. I know Chris Turdoff said to me. He says that when he's writing sketches that you kind of have to. People take for granted how much you have to be watching stuff on Netflix to be, entering the zeitgeist of what people are talking about. Because that's what Republic of Telly did. Even I did an awful funny sketch with Colgan. It was one of my favorite looking back, and it was Irish fans now after the Euros, and we're still kind of in denial that the Euros are over. and we're putting on our Ireland tops and we're singing Ole, Ole in the middle of the street. But
Yeah.
it's over. Do you know what I mean? The whole thing's over, and it was tragically beautiful. Like, and but it was kind of relevant as well. Like, you know what I mean? Like, because we're the fans now. Like, they've always managed to be like on the zeitgeist for public Italian.
Definitely, yeah. So for me, growing up, my first memory of you on the telly was the spare ads.
Yeah, yeah.
And it just seemed like even seeing you, because I know you've been on, and we'll get to these as well, like Dancing with the Stars.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
You just, it seemed like the role suited you.
Yeah, it did.
That fellow working in spare, like it was just brilliant.
Lazy. Yeah,
So,
I'm lazy.
That's 10, 12 years ago now, is it?
11. I think it's 11 years. 2000. What are we now? Yeah, 11 years ago. 2009 was their first ad, and with the cornflake box, turning it upside down. Remember that one? And it's only 3 seconds, but when that ad came out, like all of a sudden, I became a known face, like overnight. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not talking about massive fame. I'm talking about lads giving you cigarettes and coppers because they recognise it. That kind of shit. Do you know what I mean? And I'm talking about lads coming up to you in Quins at an All Ireland, quarter final or something like that, Leinster final. So all of a sudden, I was having massive crack. I was living with my mates and I was getting recognised. The casting director said to me a few years later for those ads, Dar's his name, and I kind of had to laugh because I was meant to do an ad for McDonald's and I got the ad for McDonald's. But the same production company were doing the spar ad, and they were looking for a certain kind of face and character. So when the scene, because the same company, they put me onto the spar ad instead, and I turned up for the casting anyway. And my agent was saying, pretty confident. I think you could have this already, Fred. Just turn up, show your face. And when I arrived in, this is what the reason why I got the ads. The casting director says that I look like someone who never done a day's work in his life. I just slightly shambolic in my posture, like I'm lazy in my posture. Do you know what I mean? And I've no hand-eye coordination, and it's not even laziness, it's just more visually awkward. So I was very lucky with that. People talk about working hard to get stuff. I was just very lucky with that. Now, I did loads of other ads before that, so I was always turning up for castings. I was in an ad for Tato, I was in an ad for whiskey, I was in an ad for Meteor. It was in a phone network at the time, so I was in a few of those ads. Right. So so it's just so I think I did my time as well, and then I got those. So very lucky.
So I was going to say, was that spar ad, was that the first real big, the click that kind of got your foot in the door going to other places?
100%. Yeah, it was. It gave me I didn't become a household name, but I definitely became a household face to the extent that people got annoyed looking at me, it definitely was. And I was lucky in a way as well, the timing of it, because as I said, 2009, but I went full time in comedy 2008. So I kind of want, the clubs knew that I was a competent comedian, a good comedian. I could tell jokes and they could book me in. So I was Fred Cooke, the comedian to industry, and a few people who'd come to see me in gigs. You look at the MySpace time, so who'd come to see me gig. So I was kind of lucky that I established myself as a comedian first before those ads, because I know in my heart and soul that if it was the other way around, it'd be like, guess who's trying to do comedy now? Your man from the spar ads. There would have been that kind of feeling. Do you know what I mean? So I was just kind of lucky for my own confidence. You know what I mean? So when I got those ads, I remember being on Today FM, and because Spar were doing wonderful work for charity at the time, and so because of that, like they were doing 10K runs and all these stuff. So that's all Ray Darcy, was all behind that. He loves his running and stuff like that. So because of that, they had me on the show promoting my own comedy. So if you looked at two comedians, if there's any other, those comedians at the time who were just as good as me as comedians. Do you know what I mean? They were as competent as me and they were just as funny. But media always wants to have a way in. Who is this person? Why is this person the way he is? So being the face from the Spar ad just gave me that extra push that I needed to get on to radio and get on to TV. Now, I was very lucky with the Republic of Telly as well that came after it, because if I didn't have those sketches, and I probably would have been known as ultimately the guy from the Spar ad forever, Which, look, is not a bad complaint. You could be in worse ads.
Could be worse as right.
Yeah.
Come here then. So you had the spare ad, Republic Telly. Now the Tommy Tiernan show.
Yeah.
The announcer, so as we would call yourself, the announcer.
That's it, yeah. The announcer on the Tommy Tiernan show. No, I was with the Tommy Tiernan show. That's another thing. I think I was very lucky with that. Like Tommy seen me gig in Kilkenny. I was gigging with him at the Kilkenny Cat Laughs Festival, and then he asked me to his Eleanor Tiernan was supporting him, but then she was living in the UK. She couldn't support him, so I was asked to fill in. And the more Eleanor was away, the more I got to support Tommy. And I ended up supporting Tommy Tiernan for 2 years. It was amazing. It was the best time of my life. I won't deny it. Like, it wouldn't even be, like, because like we all love Tommy Tiernan and we're all heroes. And I remember, like, when you're on the road and you had the maddest lads coming up to him for pictures and stuff like that. And I know in my heart and soul that I would have been that mad lad, only I'm allowed to be a bit more savvy. I'm working with him. I know him. But if I wasn't, I'd be a bigger gobshite than anyone else coming up to him in the town, like. And so I was, and then like he was telling me about the idea for a show, that he wanted to do a show. He said it since that when he thought of that idea, he was in a hotel room and he thought about doing where he interviews guests, but he doesn't know who they are until they come out. And when he thought about it, he just started laughing. He had to lie down on his bed. He was laughing so much. So he put that forward to RTE, 2FM, and we did it live, 1 o'clock shows, Saturday, Sunday for 2 weeks as a pilot, where Tommy didn't know who the guests were, live in 2FM. And so I was just lucky, because I'm really, these production meetings, now I'm just sitting in the background, not keeping my head low. I'll say something if I have to, but I've seen the whole thing take off, and only Tommy Tiernan would be allowed to go out live on 2FM and say what he wants, at 1 o'clock in the day. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how much he's loved and respected. So I'm just kind of, I was just kind of, a very happy person in the background watching on. Like, That's a great show as well. I think the show, the Tommy Tiernan show, allows comedy to exist where it would be morally right to have it if you knew who the guests were. Like, for example, I remember when our first actor we had on the TV show was Christy Dignam. And Christy walks out, and I met Christy a few times before this myself. I actually did a gig in Mountjoy Prison with him, and so I was kind of cool. I said, "Yeah, I'm kind of cool with Christy. I know him." But he walked out, and the first thing he said to Tommy Tiernan was, "It's always good to come on a comedy show when you're dying of cancer, right?" That's what he said, and the crowd were quite apprehensive and shocked. And Tommy took a beat. He took 4 seconds, and then he says, "Will you make it to the end of the interview?" That's what he says. "Will you make it to the end of the show?" And everyone laughed. And I just knew this is gold. And only Tommy can do it. Not only Tommy can do it. There's loads of people around the world, but Tommy's the man who got there first with this idea. And God, he's going to kill it. Because he's got the comedy to be funny, but he's got the intelligence to be like social with empathy and on an intellectual level with the intellects. He's got it all.
Yeah.
So it's a great show.
That's brilliant. Even you can tell there's times where he's like, "Yeah, I really don't know who this person is," and he's kind of looking at them like kind of the space, and he'll come out with the line then, and everyone just start erupting.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
It's brilliant.
So many examples. I remember once we had a wonderful psychologist on, and Tommy asked him a serious question. I've never seen such a turn. It always reminds me of Tiger Woods getting the ball in the hole when he was facing away, looking up a hill. How do you manage to get it round and still work? Like, he asked the psychologist, and it was an honest question and a valid point. Tommy asked him, "Why are there so many young people in Ireland taking their own life into consideration?" Which is not kids taking their own life, which is the heaviest topic you can think of. A very sad situation. Tommy goes, "Why are so many young people in Ireland taking their lives?" And then the psychologist says, "You need to ask my wife that question." And then Tommy says straight away, he goes, "Is your wife a young man from Ireland?" It's like, it was absolutely ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, and people laughed. And I'm like, oh my word. Now, I might have fucked that joke up a bit. Do you know what I mean? Like, but it was just so in the moment. Yeah. It was just so unplanned and wonderful.
Yeah, you just know that, like, he's the type of talk show host that if Ryan Tuberty said that, there'd be uproar in the paper the following day.
Maybe, yeah. But you see, the thing is, if it's if there's no organization to it, I think there's a bit of leeway
Yeah,
on it. Not I won't say organization, but if there's no preparation, if
yeah,
there's no preparation to do it, it kind of opens up doors that sometimes preparation can be a killer because uh, and it's not even about ego in showbiz, but a lot of presenters have put a lot of work into research, and by God, they want you to know that they've researched you by asking the right questions and the right things. Like for example, I mean, Vogue was on the Tommy Tiernan show, and Vogue didn't know who she was. It was brilliant. He thought she was a hurler. It's the first thing he asked her, "Are you a hurler?" Like, and but the beauty about that interview, I thought, was because like I love Vogue, and I think like she's good to chat to, and she's really intelligent. But I know sometimes if you do a prepared interview with Vogue, it might go down the Brian McFadden road. Oh, you're in a relationship with Brian McFadden, or it might go down that when she was in that reality TV show, that when they were based in Dublin. Do you remember all that kind of stuff? Which is fine, you know what I mean? Like, or might go into talk about being a model in Ireland, but it didn't go near that at all. It didn't, because it opened up other doorways. It opened up other stuff because Tommy had to fight for it. He had to fight to keep the conversation going. Like, it's brilliant.
definitely, yeah. And then so more, I suppose, recently enough as well, Dancing with the Stars.
Yeah.
That would be, was it 2018, 2019? You were,
19.
so it was only last.
19. I was only thinking about it there last month that if I did it, because I got to the semi final of Dancing with the Stars, but if I did it last year, oh no, sorry, if I did it this year, I would have got to the final. Because of COVID-19, they took away the last week and everyone was just automatically in the final, you know? Because I couldn't, because
After,
you know, I thought I was bad until I honestly, and I put my hand up, and it was like I struggled remembering. I'd rhythm and a bit of musicality, but I really struggled remembering my moves, and I struggled with the confidence of it. And I thought, you know what I mean? I thought it wasn't going to get any worse. But then I seen Father A. Kelly, and I'm like, oh lads, he's actually making me look like Michael Flatley. This is unbelievable. It's all about perspective.
the schedule for that, for
Yeah,
the stairs, like the whole training and stuff like that, is it a 2 hour a day thing, or is it just constant for the
it's
amount?
as intense as you want to make it. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, that's the way. Like your dance teachers, your dancing partner will push you to an extent, but you really have to want it yourself. Like, you know, previous years as well, you might have people turning up, you know, 6 hours a week or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And it's show it for me. Like, I guess I didn't do as much work at the start. Like, we all meet up early November. No, actually, sorry, late November into December, and then our first. So we've got 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks before our first show. And I probably didn't do as much work. Do you know what I mean? I kind of you prepare your first two dances because that's what everyone has. You know, you got it's the second week when the first person leaves. So, but it's only now I couldn't believe it. Like every week I thought it was gone. Every week I thought it was gone, and so to get to the semi final, do you know what I mean? I still kind of have to bite myself. That's what to say. You know, it was because it didn't come easy. I was very lucky that the public were behind me. Really were. The public were behind me because it wasn't coming from the judges. It wasn't coming from the judges at all. You know, and there's a lot of perseverance on Julia Dota's side as well. Like she's a wonderful choreographer, and I think she's also got a subtle gift about working around my weaknesses as opposed to working around my strengths, so you wouldn't see it. You know, and so brilliant choreographer like that. But like it was insane. Like one night I did the dance off and I fell, and I still got through to the next week. So I was like, you know, I was so grateful. And you couldn't put the nerves, you know, it was an amazing experience, but the nerves, I was sick. And like, I'm a lad who's been doing comedy for 12 years, and I'll still never be as nervous as I was doing that. You know, especially towards the quarterfinal, semi-final, because then you know, you've like a million people watching it, and
Yeah,
you're watching me jump. I used the metaphor before about when people are watching you Dancing with the Stars. Do you remember when you're at a wedding and it's late at night and they're all taking turns dancing in the middle and there's a circle. There's a circle around and everyone's clapping and everyone's taking their turns jumping into the middle. Well, it felt like that, only the circle around me was Ireland. Do you know what I mean? Like, there's just a million people watching you, clapping you on, but also waiting for you to fall. And so it was so much. But getting through to the next week, you know, I've never done drugs before, but I'd imagine like the joy that I had getting through to the next week was like you couldn't put enough fun into me. You couldn't put enough excitement into me that moment. Like it was just, oh, it was incredible. But then it became a drug. You know, it was such a high. Like, and then come Monday, you're back at it again, and it is competitive. It's very intense. It's kind of like the Gael talk for grown-ups. You're kind of hanging out with people. It is. You're hanging out with people. Like I was living with Peter Stringer. That's ridiculous. Like, you know, like I can't even understand rugby. And then I'd wake up and there's Peter Stringer having a protein drink beside me. Absolutely ridiculous.
Oh, that's sad. Like, so
Yeah.
did you all have to live together for it?
No. Some people, like Johnny Ward was living in Dublin, and I guess for the people who were like the of Cleona Hagan, she lived, like she's based up north, or she stayed. They had a place for her. Now I didn't ask for one because I was living in Trim at the time, so I was happy to you know, just drive up and down. it's not that I wasn't taking it seriously, but I definitely took the work for granted. But then later on, I said I need to be up here more, and the driving's exhausting. Like it's the commute's quite tough. So then I started. Sharing a room with Peter, sharing a house, not a room. That's a room we start. I started sharing a house with Peter then, like so. But I'd be so guilty beside him. Remember the first night, because I got a chicken wrap in Stony Batter, and you know it's all breaded chicken and mayonnaise, and I just feel so guilty beside him eating it, going, God, he probably thinks, you know, this is so unhealthy, but obviously he didn't care.
Which is the Jackson eat it by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you eat at night time, the calories don't count. So I'd say.
And then, so you had, as you said, you had Peter Stringer, Cleona Hagan. Was there anybody on it? Like, I know yourself, as you've been saying, you enjoyed it, and it was tough, but you did enjoy it.
Yeah, yeah.
Was there anyone that did it that you could tell they were in it for the win?
Oh, Johnny Ward. That's just like incredibly competitive, and like not in a bad way, not to go against you, like, you know, but Mairead Farrell as well. She was like, she was on it. And it's an impressive thing.
Yeah.
Like acute focus. Like I was just genuinely happy to be on the show. And I really mean that. I'm always kind of cautious to put my name to anything that's like celebrity or like, you know, or any of those reality shows. But this is the one thing I wanted to do because I knew it would help me. It would help my profile and I'd enjoy it. It would be rewarding. I'd put the work in. And, but yeah, like Johnny was, like Peter Stringer was very disciplined, really disciplined. You really put the work in. He was in a separate gym to us. Like you never see him until like Saturday or that. Like he was, but it was very competitive. Every Friday you'd meet up. We'd all meet up and we'd do our dances for each other. And then you get a good inclination about where you stood. And that was hard because you knew, like you'd see the like of Peter, like practically spinning, saying you like a basketball. Like I can barely raise my right leg here. You know, it's great support and everyone's lovely. There's no space for bitchiness. There's none because it's kind of like it's like farting in the lift. It's too small. It's too small. You just have to get on with it.
Yeah,
it's too small, and it's strange as well because I became good mates with Dennis Bastick. You know, like an All-Ireland Dublin footballer, legend. So it allowed me to become friends with like people like that, or even models. You know, like Cleona. It's not that I'd never be friends with, but I wouldn't have had the opportunity to be friends with. Definitely. So it was a great gateway like that. Like.
And as you said as well, it opened more doors for you because you weren't just on telly for people that were watching a comedy show.
Yeah.
They like a bit of dancing, or they follow rugby and they're watching Peter Stringer, then they're seeing you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I didn't have like rugby and Munster. It's a tribe, and Dublin football is a tribe as well. You know what I mean? Like so, like he was hitting it heavy on the votes, Dennis, from the get go. Like both of us were we were laughing because both of us were always bottom of the board, the two of us, every week. Like we were joking with him, we became bottom of the board buddies. Do you know what I mean? Like, but he always got through. Do you know what I mean? Except for 1 week when it kind of changed for me. Do you know what I mean? It was just so much. I think looking back, that's how it was. But no, absolutely. For me, it was good because I was allowed to be funny. I was allowed to show my physicality. It was a massive platform. It might never come back, so I was very lucky to get it.
Yeah.
Uh, I applied for the first year. Like the minute, I remember Joe.ie says, "Oh, Shane Willett bought the rights for Dance with the Stars. Has come to Ireland." And the day I seen that, and I think it was Joe.ie, it could have been Entertainment.ie, one of those sites. I emailed my agent, going, "Oh, here, I'd love to do it. Could you put my name forward?" And she kind of, the reply was, "You want to dance?" ? Like as if, you know. And I said, "No, just put me forward, try." So what happened was she did. She put my name, and it was the year Dennis Bishop got it. It's the first year, because every year there seemed to be two comedians, two, you know, actors, two radio people, two sports people. They just generally, now it wasn't like that last year, but it just seemed to be before that every year.
Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, grand. So Des got it, and I forgot the other comedian. So then the next year, I said, "Put my name forward again, if you can," like, and she did, and I got called in for an interview. So in my head, I was convinced I had it. I really was. I remember, like, earlier on that afternoon, I went in and met the production company, and I had a nice white shirt on me and nice blue jeans, and I was actually dressed up for Kevin McGahern's wedding. Would you believe it? Because I was going to the afters of his wedding, so I was dressed up. I was looking so slick for this production company, you know, like the typical light blue trousers and the brown shoes that every you know, mid-30s lad has at a wedding. And so I went in and I met them, and it was quite positive, great. And I drove from Dublin to Kevin's wedding, and I was convinced I had it. I was over the moon. I was so excited, and then I didn't get it. For some, and it was, I think Bernard O'Shea got it that year. Not putting him in a bracket, but he was the comedian. So it's not that I gave up on it, but I stopped getting excited about it or putting myself under pressure about it. I said, maybe I'm just not. I just don't have the profile for it, and I didn't. If you look at the profile of all the people who are on it my year, I probably had the least. I was probably a surprise to people because no one really knew who I was. And so the third year, I said to my agent again, "Oh yeah, look, just if you send an email," and the same email went out. They got back and says, "Okay, yeah, they want to do an interview with you again." So I went back in. Now I didn't have the wedding outfit on me a year later. It's a bit more. I was probably a bit more relaxed with him. Do you know what I mean? A bit more honest about it.
Yeah.
And then a week after that, you know Karen Byrne, who won it with Jay Carter.
Yeah.
I had to meet her I had to meet her in a dance studio to see if I could dance or not, just a basic rhythm. And then maybe 2 days later, I was in Waterford gigging, and I got it. I got the email saying, Ivan says, "Well done, you have it." And the whole joke was, for me, I was saying, it's like the leaving cert, third time lucky. Keep going, you get it. It just took so long. So it's the one thing I always wanted, and I was so happy I got that experience. And like Republic of Telly, like those videos, I was lucky that it's catalogued. It's there in the RTE catalogue, you know, that you can always show your kids or grandkids if life is good to me.
Definitely. So as you said, October the 2nd is you're in the TF.
Oh yes, yeah, and please do come along. It's a socially distanced gig. Like I can only have 100 people in the room, and that's socially distanced. But I probably it'd be great to see. I was there a year ago, and so it's a new show. It'll be Mighty Cracked. It'll be support as well, and it's in the TF, and it's in October. Sorry, it's in October, so there's plenty of time to get tickets.
Yeah.
So, and you can get tickets on. They're up on ticketmaster.ie. Just write my name in, or if you want to go onto my website, which is fredcookecomedian.com, so you'll get them there. So
you want? I'll have to keep the diary free for that. The football.
Yeah, please do.
And sure, I'll meet you up there then. Fred, thanks a million for joining me on the podcast. We've got a good half an hour, 40 minutes there. Sure, we might get one again sometime in the near future. And
yeah, definitely, 100%, Rianne. And thanks so much for having me. Delighted to finally get on it.
And I'll stop recording now, and I want to thank everyone for listening.